The United States of America is going to war. I don't know when, but I do know that it's inevitable and it's going to happen a lot sooner than you think. On this channel, I'm always going to give you guys my honest opinion. And after seeing the trilateral meeting between Vladimir Putin, President Xi, and Kim Jong-un in China, my honest opinion is the world is soon going to see war like it hasn't in 80 years. And this war is going to determine the future global order. Smash the like button so more Americans are aware of this imminent reality, and maybe, just maybe, we can do something to stop it. But grab your popcorn and buckle up because I have a lot to talk about in this video. First, we have to go back to 1945, the end of World War II, because that's where this problem really starts. America was high on adrenaline, pride, and glory. Freedom defeated tyranny, good defeated evil, and we were the preeminent superpower on planet Earth. We were filled with ambition and optimism and a naive belief that there was nothing America couldn't do. So we embarked on the most grand and noble quest we could conceive, establishing world peace and ensuring that the world never saw the atrocities and devastation of World War II ever again. We signed the Bretton Woods Agreement, which made the United States dollar the world reserve currency. We were the only stable economy left standing, and it would make global trade more efficient and streamlined. And while being the world reserve currency gave us a lot of economic advantages and leverage, it's also why inevitably we'll be going to war, and I'll touch on that a little later. And then there was the Marshall Plan, where we paid to rebuild Europe so they would stop fighting each other, and we could develop economically strong allies. And then finally, implementing the foolhardy philosophy of global free trade. Our belief was if every country was prosperous and every country was interconnected economically, if we all relied on each other for the things we needed, we would be much less likely to go to war with each other. And while that was successful in the sense that we've had no major global wars since World War II, it's all come at the expense of American might and prosperity. We told the entire globe, you can sell into America. We have money, it'll grow your economies rapidly, but our companies will not sell into your markets. And this led to the deindustrialization of America and hollowing out the entire middle class. We held a childish belief that the world was going to stay peaceful forever. And if it did, there was no need for us to be the ones to manufacture the critical things our society needs if we could export the labor to another country and actually get the stuff we need cheaper. The corporations loved it because they made more money, and the politicians loved it because it meant more GDP growth. Instead of spending $50 on something durable made in America that might last you 5 years, you can spend $10 buying something cheap from China that breaks every 3 months and has to be replaced. So overall, you're spending more money, you're just doing it in cheaper increments. And this leads to the next problem, sending our entire manufacturing capability to China. The United States literally built and funded our #1 adversary. Even though China was communist and we were ideologically opposed to them, we thought that if we showed them capitalism and free market enterprise, they would see the benefits and start adopting Western democratic values and align themselves with Team America. But they obviously didn't. But it's not just that they didn't. It's the arrogance that we had, that we were willing to enrich an ideological opponent all for some cheap knickknacks because we saw a poor, primitive country. And we thought, they'll never rival us. They'll never be a problem to us. They looked at the history of growth and development in America and applied that timeline to China. They assumed it would be 100 years before China caught up to where we are now. And in that time, we'll be so far ahead, it still won't matter. But the astronomical, meteoric rise of China from 1980 to now is nothing short of impressive. But the sad part is we could have stopped it at any point. Almost immediately, once American manufacturing relocated to China, the Chinese engaged in widespread intellectual property theft. They engaged in corporate espionage. They invaded American universities and stole our most cutting-edge research. They've stolen military technology research. And now they're the second biggest economy in the world, and we're wholly dependent on them for everything. Now let's bring it to today and connect why the meeting between Kim Jong-un, Xi, and Putin was so concerning. The two things all of these countries have in common is a hatred towards the West and historic territorial reunification ambitions. North Korea wants South Korea. China wants Taiwan. Russia wants Ukraine. And none of them care that the United States has declared that all the borders in the world are permanent and you can't go conquering land anymore. Russia's been conquering parts of Ukraine for the last 20 years. And every time they've been met with the same consequences: sanctions, tariffs, seizing assets, condemnation by the global community, and they just don't care. It's because the United States is a young country, and we apply our logic that everybody wants peace and prosperity to these ancient and proud countries that we don't understand. We can't fathom that them rectifying historical grievances is more important than having a flourishing economy. These leaders are okay with their people suffering in order to achieve their historic territorial reunification. The United States has never lost part of our territory to war and been expected to just sit back and accept it and not want it back. It's the same reason Democrats believe gang violence in Chicago can be stopped with enough behavioral therapists and rec center programs. They think the violence comes from poverty, and if they fix the poverty, they fix the violence. They don't understand these people are killing each other because somebody's cousin got killed by them. And they killed his cousin because somebody on this side killed that person's brother. And they killed his brother because he killed somebody's uncle. These are personal grievances predicated on revenge. And the Soviet Union falling was a national embarrassment, and Vladimir Putin is seeking revenge. And one of the key reasons why I think war is more imminent now than ever is because of how fractured and divided America is. A house divided cannot stand, and currently half of the United States of America openly hates the country and would be thrilled to watch it burn down. Americans used to be united against socialism because we all knew it was anti-freedom, it was anti-liberty. It's a system predicated on oppressing your own people that leads to poverty and famine. But now the entire American left is unapologetically socialist. I wholeheartedly believe that if China pulled a Pearl Harbor type move, the American left would cheer. They would cheer because they hate their country, because they hate Donald Trump. It would make him look bad, and that would put the biggest smile on their face. They would absolutely not care about the American lives lost. It's why they're so vehemently against Trump striking a Venezuelan narco boat, because they don't care about the 100,000 people per year that are dying of fentanyl. If killing these 11 drug traffickers who profit off of the death of Americans causes the supply of fentanyl coming into the United States to drop by half, and 50,000 American lives are saved per year, that is an enormous win and well worth it. But the American left disagrees, because to them, the lives of Tren de Aragua gang members are more important than their own countrymen. And when a country is divided like that, they are ripe for the taking, and that's how China sees us. That's why you have the president of China saying at this military parade to the world, it's now time to pick sides. It's either peace or war.
We're watching live pictures tonight, right now, a massive parade underway in Beijing as the Chinese President Xi Jinping is showing off his country's arsenal and military might to the world and to the more than 24 foreign leaders who are there in person attending this military parade that includes those from Russia, North Korea, and Iran. In a speech just a few moments ago, President Xi warned that the world needs to choose, as he put it, quote, between peace and war.
During Joe Biden's administration, over 30,000 Chinese crossed illegally through the southern border per year. But Chinese people aren't restricted from traveling into the United States. They come here often for school and tourism. So if they're coming here illegally through the southern border, that means they are up to no good. These people are probably assembled strategically throughout the United States. Hack power grids, hack water plants, hack telecommunications, cripple the United States from within, and make them unable to respond to China's aggression. Now let's bring Rocket Man Kim Jong-un into the equation. He has already been sending tens of thousands of troops to Russia to fight against Ukraine. So this is already a global conflict. They're just seeing how far they can push the West before European countries jump in on Ukraine's side, which will force NATO to get involved and give China the opening it needs in the Pacific. This is why Donald Trump was so hasty with tariffs, with reshoring American manufacturing, because we don't produce the things we need to maintain our supremacy if the everlasting peace stops. I believe Putin has no interest in peace in Ukraine. I think the game's already started. Putin is going to increase aggression in Ukraine and do what Russians do best: send their people into the meat grinder until they eventually overwhelm who they're fighting. I kid you not. Here are the three leaders discussing organ transplants and achieving immortality. Take a look.
In the past, people rarely lived longer than 70 years. But today, they say that at 70, you are still a child.
Human organs can be continuously transplanted. The longer you live, the younger you become, and can even achieve immortality.
What we have to understand is these countries have no regard for human rights, which means they're allowed to conduct medical research much more freely and openly, and therefore much more effectively. There's a reason after World War II, we brought over the Nazis' top scientists and engineers and doctors, because their sophisticated understanding of the human body was forged through the most cruel and bone-chilling experiments on people. Now, to put a bow on this conversation, and this is where the all-out war occurs. China wants one thing, and that is to become the dominant global superpower. And the way that happens is through Taiwan. They want Taiwan because of reunification, sure, but more importantly, it's because taking Taiwan is the ultimate risk, the ultimate power play. This move is meant to test the United States and show the entire world, will America come and save you, or will they not? And if we do, then it's war. And if we don't, it's still war. And here's how. If China takes Taiwan unobstructed, overnight, South Korea, Japan, the Philippines, all align with China, because their defiance against Chinese supremacy in Asia was rooted in the belief that the United States would back them. If the United States does not come and save Taiwan, Japan, South Korea, and the Philippines have no reason will come in to save them. It'll make much more sense for them to cooperate with China than fight a losing ideological battle. All of Southeast Asia is already communist. Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Burma. China will control the entire Asian continent and have full control over the South China Sea, which is the most valuable trade route in the world. This would mean China controls the most valuable waterway and are therefore the global superpower. But what that will cause is a mass sell-off of the United States dollar. It will cease to mean anything and will just become a valueless piece of paper that no one will want to hold. And our entire economic model since the end of World War II has been debt-fueled growth. Our philosophy was we could print as much money as possible, take out as much debt as possible. Because if everybody in the world held dollars, that inflation would be spread across the entire globe, not concentrated in America. But the global dumping of the dollar would result in hyperinflation so significant in the United States, it would cause mass unemployment, which would lead to widespread starvation and death. And the American government wouldn't be able to do anything to stop it. They wouldn't be able to borrow money because the rest of the world wouldn't want dollars, and any money they printed would just add fuel to the fire. And that's why we would have to go to war, simply to maintain our currency's reserve status. Otherwise, it would lead to the starvation of 50 million, 100 million Americans. And if China became the world superpower, I can promise you, they would not be interested in enriching the rest of the world at their own expense like America did. They would economically cripple every country that was a threat to make sure what China did to America could never happen to them. And the reason I think this is going to happen soon is because China's entire plan is predicated on the United States not having the necessary manufacturing capabilities. The only deterrence China has against America stopping them from invading Taiwan is our dependence on Chinese rare earths, pharmaceuticals, and every other thing we need. And they won't just give up that leverage. They're going to strike while the iron's hot, while the country is divided, while it can't produce the things it needs. And the reason I think they have Kim Jong-un in this coalition is because Kim is their wild card. He's their nuclear-armed mad dog. North Korea is inconsequential. China and Russia have him in the alliance to simply sacrifice him if all-out war breaks out. They'll let Kim nuke South Korea just to test the United States' response. If the United States responds, China and Russia can just say, hey man, we did not do that. And North Korea gets blown off the map. But if we don't respond, What message does that send to the allies fighting this global war with us? That we're willing to let them get nuked and not do anything about it. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. I know that was a long one. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on those notification bells so you never miss a video. And I will see you guys in the next one.